Would you rather the Leafs have a goalie tandem with 2 half-decent goalies or 1 superstar goalie and 1 half-decent backup?
This is the 10 Minutes with Andrew podcast.
Would you rather the Leafs have a goalie tandem with 2 half-decent goalies or 1 superstar goalie and 1 half-decent backup?
So the question is, would I prefer a true number one goalie and a backup, who's probably not that well known, or would I prefer a tandem 1A, 1B type situation?
Like the Bruins.
Where they're not, well, the Bruins are a bit different.
They are a bit different.
Those were 2 number ones.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's about to come to an end because they can't keep them both.
No.
That just was a fluke for them that they had 2 great goalies that turned out to be 2 legitimate number ones.
Yeah.
So do I want 2 half-decents that I can play kind of evenly throughout the season? Or do I want a superstar goalie or a true number one and a backup who's seldom used?
So what do you want?
You go first.
I want 1 superstar goalie and a half-decent backup. I want a true number one. I want a superstar who can be there and you can rely on him, because the Leafs goalies, as of the last couple of years, have not been people you can rely on. I mean, Samsonov, no, not last year anyway, or this past season. Campbell, Freddie Anderson, they weren't those guys. Like last time, I think you said a couple of shows ago.
Campbell was
Cujo was
not really a true number one.
No, but
Freddie was a true number one, and Freddie was a good true number one
until the playoffs.
Till it came to a game that mattered in the playoffs.
And he still does in Carolina, even to this day.
He did the same thing this year, unfortunately, for Freddie.
Yeah, well, I would prefer a superstar than have somebody, not like a nobody who you don't know if he's going to be there or not, but somebody who, can be there if you need a good backup. If you have like 2 back-to-back games or if your superstar gets hurt.
Well, I think I'm with you on this one. Boston Bruins being the exception. If I had a Swayman and an Allmark, I'd go with that every
100%, 100%.
But that doesn't happen very often. That was the exception, not the rule.
Yep.
I do go back to when the Leafs had some success, and it was with a Cujo who dragged them through some playoff games, and after him, Eddie Belfour who dragged them through some playoff games. I think of the Tampa Bay Lightning and how dominant they were.
Vasilevsky.
Number one goalie, right?
Yeah.
And even when you look back at was it, I can't remember the year, a few years ago when Canadians beat the Leafs that first round. Carey Price dragged them to the Stanley Cup final.
100%.
Right? So the other thing about the tandem, I'm not convinced that they don't get hurt more.
Yeah, that's true.
And again, Boston is the exception, but I know in Toronto with
Samsonov and Woll.
Samsonov and Joe Woll, they were always hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because they're not in good enough game shape that they can play that often, because they're getting more games than they're used to, but they're not getting enough reps, so their bodies aren't ready, and they're just getting hurt so easily.
Yeah, it's hard to. Joseph Woll, that's the thing. You don't rely on him yet because he's kind of injury prone, and it's
both were this year.
Both were. But
then if you're going with just a number one, what happens if he goes down? Bum bum bum.
Yeah, well, you need a good backup too.
Well, you do, man. Thatcher Demko, he went down, and
so did Casey DeSmith.
Vancouver's out now. Vancouver's third stringer certainly didn't hurt them too much.
Shelov's was great.
But you wonder if Thatcher Demko was in there, might they have won 1 or 2 of the games that they lost, and might they still be playing? I wonder. Now, speaking of still playing, Edmonton's the exception to the rule because they don't have a true number one or a tandem.
No.
And I think they're about to lose a game or 2 because they didn't address their goaltending situation.
To the Dallas Stars, who definitely have a superstar in Jake Ottinger.
But I could be wrong. Not likely, but I could be wrong.
All right.